My name is Gene Xu. I'm a China business coach, trainer, and advisor, but more importantly, I'm an ABC. That's American-born Chinese.
Well, I think the biggest turning point that has led to where we are today, and even kind of what I'm passionate about and what I do, really is meeting your mother and dating and eventually marrying somebody from mainland China.
At the intersection between America and China, I'm concerned about the lack of cultural awareness on both sides. So I started having conversations with my unborn son. I want to try to explain our world in context in order for him to make better sense of his world. And I want him to develop a healthier attitude, mindset, and approach towards anyone from a different culture.
I really never interacted with anybody from mainland China, because growing up in America, mainland China was always kind of mysterious.
Welcome to Season 2 of Generational ABC Podcast, another series of conversations between me and my unborn son, one ABC to another.
I can remember a long time ago, Taiwan people were talking about independence and all of that stuff, and in my mind, we're all Chinese. Hey, little buddy, it's your father again, doing something a little bit different today. I'm actually in our new home. It's not quite set up yet. My office in the back is just starting to take shape. I'm just, getting everything in. But I wanted to, again, continue our conversations, really talk about, I think this is Season 2. I'm really trying to talk about kind of moments in my life that really kind of were turning points. So I think the biggest turning point that has led to where we are today, and even kind of what I'm passionate about and what I do, really is meeting your mother and dating and eventually marrying somebody from mainland China. Okay, so as an ABC, growing up here in the US, especially during that time period, there weren't any. When I went through elementary school, as you'll see from some of the old calendars and old photos, there were no other even Asian Americans in my school when I first started. And then, of course, as I started to move through the school system, more Asians started coming in. So by high school, there were maybe a few Chinese American classmates, but not many. But the thing is I really never interacted with anybody from mainland China, because growing up in America, mainland China was always kind of mysterious. And during that time period, most of the overseas Chinese or American-born Chinese that I associated with were actually from Taiwan, because Taiwan started immigrating over to the US much earlier. Now, you can go way back during the gold rush as America was expanding west, and I think during that time period there was a lot of mainland Chinese laborers that came over to help with the transcontinental railroad and whatever. I'm not familiar with that history, but I know a lot of really early Chinese came over during that time period, and they set up maybe the Chinatowns in Hong Kong and stuff like that. But growing up in Atlanta, Georgia, there weren't many people from mainland China during my younger years. Now, obviously, as I got older, I got into college, there were more and more. But my worldview was really more associated with people from Taiwan, because as you know, when I was in the third grade or the second grade, your grandfather took a 1-year sabbatical in Taiwan to teach physics, so I actually spent 1 year going through the school system in Taiwan. So that was kind of my worldview. And because I'm a banana, which is I'm white on the inside and yellow on the outside, even back during that period, I always wanted to be white. And I may have, even if I look back, I had kind of even my own biases against Taiwanese people. And I can remember a long time ago, Taiwan people were talking about independence and all of that stuff. And in my mind, we're all Chinese. So I actually disagreed with the Taiwanese desire to be Taiwanese and not Chinese. That was very strange to me because the environment in which I grew up, I just thought of myself as Chinese, but American because I was born in America. So it was really kind of this thought process of me growing up, going to college, and getting married and dating and stuff like that. And then the real turning point, I can remember before I met your mom, my desire wasn't to date anyone from mainland China, because my perception was that the values would be really, really different, and there were all of these things about how demanding, especially like I think Shanghai women are, and how kind of subservient Shanghai men are to Shanghai women. So just from that cultural and value standpoint, it was never my intention to date or eventually marry anybody from mainland China, okay? But love has a strange way of bringing kind of opposites attract and bringing kind of different people together, and you can really never plan who you fall in love with, who you meet, who you eventually marry. I mean, you have some choice, but you know, you have finite opportunities to meet people. So the real turning point was when I met your mom, and she is from a very small province in mainland China. It's actually in Hunan. She's born and raised in a small province called Youxian, which is, I think it's like a 4th tier province. You know, Hunan is also where Chairman Mao, Mao Zedong, is originally from. So I can remember visiting her family in her old, in the village. It's not really a village, it's a little bit more than a village, but in the place where she came from. And it's very, very typical. So you walk in the front door and there is a picture of Chairman Mao right in the living room, right above the dining table. And so that'll give you a kind of an understanding of what the mindset is of people from where your mom grew up. Now, obviously your mom is incredibly, well, she's just incredible. So she's very attractive. So she was always kind of like my dream girl when we were dating. She's also, you know, bilingual. She's very well educated. She's, you know, PhD in medicine or microbiology, and she came over to Atlanta. Well, actually, she first went to Alabama as a postdoctorate doing research, and then eventually she came to Atlanta to continue her postdoctoral research at Emory University. And Emory is very close to where we live. It's all in DeKalb County. So without getting into that too much detail, but so when we first started dating, everything on the outside, you know, the physical appearance, the education level, the personality, all of that was beyond what I thought I could expect to find in, when I was dating in a girl or a wife. So when we started dating, it was almost like a dream come true for me. So that was really the turning point. Because what happens is as much as we were physically kind of attracted to each other and can enjoy a lot of things together, culturally and values-wise, we are completely different. Now, between me and anybody else, that type of cultural difference or value difference would probably lead to, if it doesn't lead to conflict, it basically leads to kind of separation, where I wouldn't want to be associated with somebody like that because we would always disagree and we would never get along. Okay. Now, because it's your mom and it's my wife, she's my wife, then we have to figure out how do we work together? How do we compromise? How do we understand better how to bridge our value differences to actually create something more enduring? And being in an intimate relationship with somebody who grew up in that environment, in a small fourth-tier province in Hunan, China, and her and I not having any language barriers. So we could actually speak exactly what we wanted to each other, whether it's in English or in Chinese. There's no language barrier. So all of the differences comes down completely to cultural barriers. And those cultural barriers are the things that really help me, because with anybody else, even in business, yes, we want to form good relationships, we want to work together, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that we can just leave unsaid because it's just business. But in your most intimate personal relationship, even the smallest differences in values, you always have a kind of desire to reconcile, which means, we still need to figure out what is the best way for us to deal with this type of issue. You think it's important, but I think it's insignificant. Or you complain about something, and then I think that's just ridiculous. That doesn't even matter. Why would you even care about that? These types of conversations during our relationship come up all the time. Okay, and why was it a turning point? It's not just a turning point because in my personal life, we ended up getting married and now we're getting ready to start a family. It's a turning point because every conversation that we had really allowed me to go deep into the mindset of somebody from mainland China and really find what is the true difference between me as an American, as a banana, white on the inside with more Western Christian type values and priorities, versus somebody from mainland China who Americans perceive as often very difficult to communicate with, very superficial, capitalistic, materialistic, and whatever it is, whatever the stereotype is, I was able to really understand where it came from. And not only did I understand where it came from, I learned how to empathize with someone who doesn't share the same values and priorities as me. Even though we're on the same team and we have the same goals, the path to achieving those goals means a lot and makes a difference. And it's through this relationship with your mom, how we came together, how we resolved our conflicts, how we are able to move forward and get closer and become more aligned and grow in our mutual understanding and love for each other. That is, I think, a testament of our ability to go beyond something that is just very superficial, and that is, what do I prefer? What do you prefer? What are my priorities? What are your priorities? And what I've discovered is between Americans and Chinese, they're almost 100%, when you go deep into how people feel, the preferences, the priorities, and the approach are always going to be different. And the result is Americans will generally always perceive Chinese people as being selfish or being unreasonable or being just ridiculous in their stance or being too emotional or being whatever. And you can see it in the politics that we have today. You go on any YouTube video or Karura answer, and if it's talking about something related to US-China relationships, you can just see all of these very, very just ugly comments coming from Chinese people. But you see the same thing coming from non-Chinese people too, and it's just completely unproductive. And that's why when I get into these online forums and debates, I really try to just try to empathize, listen, and understand, and try to get people to answer their own questions, right? Instead of challenging what they say, just ask more questions. Try to get them to go deeper into what they mean, and eventually you'll find out that there is more room kind of for compromise. So this vlog got a little bit long, but the real turning point of my life was meeting your mother, getting married, and eventually having you, little buddy. So thank you very much, and talk to you again soon.
Listen and subscribe on Apple Podcasts,